show. I am your host, Christene Marie, and y'all, we're talking about something that is probably one of the most important conversations that so few leaders address, which is, am I on the right track? Am I actually sacrificing too much? Am I too laser focused with my eye on the ball? Am I perhaps making the wrong decision in what I'm choosing not to do and what I'm choosing not to engage with, especially on a interpersonal relationship side? Are we actually burning bridges as we move forward towards our goals? And I'm just so incredibly honored that Reuben Rock here is here joining us today. Reuben, thank you so much for coming and speaking on this topic. You're literally surrounding yourself in success right now. Like you're being recognized literally at airports. You're speaking on so many stages. You've doubled your revenue in just a couple of months. You're literally doing the very thing that all of us entrepreneurs are on the path and striving to do. You're in this place, and yet you're asking some of these really critical questions. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate all those kind words. Yeah, it's kind of unbelievable to hear somebody introduce me that way, but it feels really good. So yeah, I guess that's where I'm at in my life right now. It's different than where I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah, Reuben, this topic is so important because all of us are asking these questions on a daily basis. And even if we're not consciously asking them, our subconscious is constantly weighing the risks and balance as we move forward with every decision that we make. And even just, I was at dinner with another entrepreneur a couple weeks ago, and she was sharing how she's basically like, let me shrink myself when I'm with my family and friends so that I'm not too big, take up too much space, because none of them are surrounding themselves in success. So let me shrink and become a little bit more obsequious so I fit in and belong. And then when I'm with, the other entrepreneurs, I can be as big as I am. So can we first talk about that divide and demarcation that is, as we are moving closer to our goals, we're actually getting further and further from those that we love so much. What do you do?
It's hard to know, but I can relate to that. I kind of do something similar. I don't talk about my business the same way that I talk about it in front of my friends. I don't talk about it in front of my family that way. My friends that know my business, that know me as an entrepreneur, I talk openly about it. I share everything I'm doing, and I ask them about what they're doing. My friends that are not entrepreneurs, the people I know from school, from past jobs, the people that can't relate so much to my entrepreneurial journey, I talk about it a little bit differently with them. And yeah, I think it's mostly because of how it's received, right? Or at least to me, how it feels like it's being received. When I'm telling somebody about my business, I don't want somebody in my personal life to feel like I'm bragging or like trying to, throw my weight around or act like I'm more important or more interesting than anybody else in the room. And I don't want my friends or family to feel that way. So I kind of downplay my own success, and I'm a little degrading sometimes, and my friends used to make jokes about me and call me Sketchy D-Rock, the guy who sells stuff on the internet, scams people on the internet. That was 20 years ago, right? But I still kind of joke about that with them, that I'm still just that guy. But
I'm still people.
Yeah. And I wasn't back then, but when you're around people who don't understand what you do, sometimes they cast aspersions, or they'll make little comments or things just to kind of like, I don't know, take you down a peg or two, keep you in the pack, remind you who you are, where you came from. And I think sometimes it's good humored, but those little comments, I think sometimes they add up to where people like us, we kind of we start to tone it down a little. We start to shut down a little. We start to say less. And I think that happens with certain groups, right? You just kind of you change your communication.
Yes. There's a couple of things that you just said. They'll knock you down a couple of pegs to keep you in the pack. I think that's actually a really interesting concept of, are they actually trying to keep you small for the purpose of fitting it? Like, they want you to be included. And so they'll tease and jest to kind of pull you back in. Like, I almost wonder if there's an element of that, so that they're still keeping, like, it's perhaps well-intended. Perhaps there is jealousy there. And I think that it's really a person by person. Maybe it is, there's jealousy, let's knock you down. Or it's kind of like teasing, knocking you down because we want you to be included. Do you feel like you're kind of able to tell the difference?
With my friends, and people who are close to you, it's really hard to know, right? Because there's all this stuff that clouds those relationships. It's really hard to know how someone really feels. I think in my heart, I believe that no, all of my friends, they wish success for me. My family wishes success for me, just like I do for them. And
Right.
you know, I think everybody's always there's everyone fights some degree of envy, right? Your neighbor has something that you wish you had, and you, at the very
Yes.
minimum, you wish you had the same for yourself. Not that you wish you could take it from your neighbor, but
Right.
you know, I think everybody has that to some degree. With my friends and family, I feel like I can, I, I just try to operate on the belief that they want the best for me. I want the best for them. With people I
Yes.
don't know as well, people who know me maybe better than I know them. I'm meeting them for the first time, but they've gotten to know me through YouTube or through social media or through word of mouth or something else. They've just heard about me.
Yep.
It's harder to tell sometimes with those people because I'm approaching the relationship cold. I'm kind of going in blind and I'm not sure what I'm getting into. And then sometimes people know more about you and it's hard to
Mhm.
tell what their intentions are and what their feelings are. And sometimes people, there's weirdness, right? Especially when you're the person who's the expert and has something for sale, right? It puts you in an awkward position where sometimes people are combative or defensive, or the things they say to you can come off a little strange, right? And
Mhm.
so it's like sometimes I can tell the difference. I'm like, okay, this
Yes.
person has a bit of a hang up. Like the way
Yeah.
that they're speaking to me reveals that they have a bit of a hang up and that it probably has nothing to do with me, but something
Right.
about me or something that I'm doing or saying, or, you know, that's causing them to feel insecure or something like that, you know?
Mhm. This conversation is so timely. I was thinking about this last night. You know, the lens through which we view the world and the lens through which we view ourselves will cloud our perception of how others are viewing us. And
Mhm.
then same with their lens, right? And so if we're coming in already feeling a bit self-conscious, a bit unsure and insecure, we're probably going to view them and perceive them through that lens and be thus questioning things that they say. And then if we have the lens of just really letting go of whatever their perception is. I'm reading David Hawkins right now. Do I have no, my book's still in the other room? It's so good. And then if we've let go of that, we're able to, I feel like, almost see more clearly what it is, but that's still not going to change their perception of us. They're
Mhm.
still going to be looking through their own insecurity. And so if they're feeling insecure about themselves, you know, they'll literally view us that way. It's
Yeah.
so interesting. Like, it doesn't matter how we show up in one sense. It is entirely predicated on how they're doing in their personal life and then their ability to receive us and our presence showing up.
Yeah, there's definitely two halves to the whole, right? Like
Yeah.
there's two sides to this coin. When you're walking into any kind of a relationship or conversation with somebody, there's what you're bringing to the table, there's what they're bringing to the table. It all matters. And I think a lot of people don't think about both sides of it, right? And
Mhm.
I spend a lot of time thinking about both sides of it. I might not seem like the kind of person who thinks about others a lot, but I do. Actually, every single time I'm talking to somebody, I'm really thinking about how they're perceiving the conversation. I'm trying to make sure that they're good. And I don't know if that's people pleasing behavior. I don't know if that comes from somewhere, you know, in my past or deep down, but like I really do think about the other person in the conversation with me. Um,
Right.
and you know, I think I find it helpful because I feel like at least if I sense that I'm intimidating somebody, upsetting somebody, that I've
Mm-hmm.
lost them in the conversation somewhere, that at least then I'm like trying to watch the conversation and like see how can I bring it back? How can I make this more of a useful or like friendly conversation or more make it feel better for the other person? And again,
Yeah.
that might be people pleasing behavior, but I
Mhm.
sometimes wish more people did it.
Well, honestly, what you're saying makes me think of emotional intelligence. The second half of emotional intelligence is the ability to handle interpersonal relationships with empathy and judiciously. Judiciously means wisdom and the ability to navigate. And then with the empathy of care for that person, of putting yourself in their shoes, you then have the navigational system of operating the conversation to kind of draw them out and shine the limelight on them and then adjust it accordingly when you lose their interest. I think what happens, that can be, you said kind of the codependency thing. I actually think that the first half of emotional intelligence protects you from that, which is the ability to understand, uh, express and be aware of one's own emotions. So when the two
Mhm.
are working together, when we're leading from this authentic place, we then can engage with empathy and with wisdom to ensure that that protects us from the codependency and then also manipulation.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you do both really well, Reuben. Like you're very authentic in your presence. When have you kind of operated from a place where that was missing, like that authentic presence was missing, and you were just focused on the other person? And then how have you kind of bridged the gap there?
I think a lot of this awareness has happened in the last 2 or 3 years, really.
Mm,
I had some of it before, but I was also very focused on other people. I was actually really only focused on the other person in the equation for a long time. I was only focused on them. I was less focused on me, what I was doing or saying, and how people were perceiving me. I was so focused on other people that like I wouldn't change anything about me, even upgrading me to try to improve the situation. I would just focus on okay, how do I say it better to this person, say it different to this person, but almost like in a way, like from a perspective of like, how do I control this person? Right.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
At some point in the last 2 or 3 years, I realized that having better control of myself contributes to that, right? Like, being able to say this person's having a hard time with this issue. It has nothing to do with me. They're just having this issue. And so I don't need to say something to like to please them or to, whatever. I need to say something real to them that's on the same page as them. Like I just kind of need to get on their level and relate to them. And that might require me to like open up more. It might require me to share something that's happened with me before. I don't know. It's just like it requires a different programming. I wish I could put my finger on it, Christine. Really, I wish I could, because I know that years ago I operated from a totally different place. That I was so desperate to find any kind of success, to be recognized in any way, that it's like I kept getting further and further from it. And the things that I would say to people would push them further away. It would make me less and less of like an expert, less popular. And then at some point, like something changed. And it could have been a book I read, something somebody said to me. Sometimes I like to attribute it to How to Win Friends and Influence People, because there's some topics in that book about like,
Yeah.
how to deal with other people, right? How to put yourself in their shoes. I think I must have taken some lessons from that book at some point, taken them to heart. I always try to credit that book, but something changed in me to where I realized I needed to be a different person. I had to show up differently.
Mhm.
And that if I could do that, then the way the energy around me would work is also different.
Yes. Yeah. And that's ultimately to kind of what we're talking about now. All the success is coming to you. It's like when we rise up to be that person, we attract it.
Yeah.
Like everybody who, even just you posting more on social media and you actually stepping into that role of leader and talking like the leader that you are, it's like, okay, let's bridge the gap between what we know and then how we act. Because I
Mhm.
actually think a lot of us know our own prowess in our mind, like our own cognitive knowing, let's say, but then the actions is the manifestation of that. And I think that there's a big disparity for a lot of people. And that disparity is ultimately the gap between
Mhm.
their success and what they're wanting to do until we actually embody it. And it's scary. I mean, how did you feel when you actually started saying what you wanted and what you thought, whereas you had lived the majority of your life just so focused on others?
Yeah. um, it was very scary. I think most of this happened after the pandemic. And so I had the double, like this double pain of I'm going to put myself out there more. I'm going to promote myself as more of an entrepreneur. I'm going to own this role that I have. I've stepped into the entrepreneurship role. I'm a leader. I'm building companies and teams and stuff. I'm going to step into that role and I'm going to share that with people. And that's what I'm going to put out there. But I was also doing that coming off of the pandemic, where I had been like off of social media. I had been kind of buried in my little tiny house with my family, spending all of my time with them, not talking to others, and also just kind of like frayed at the ends socially. Everyone was like wearing masks and not going out to stores and restaurants and stuff. And after a year or two of that, like I really struggled to kind of integrate back into social life because I didn't see friends or family for a long time. And I was just a lurker on the internet. I was just reading stuff on the internet. But at the same time, I was like kind of transforming myself as an entrepreneur. I had just sold my first company in the pandemic. I sold it during all of that. And
Really?
then and then I had this transition period where I was going from one business that I had just successfully sold. I unexpectedly and successfully sold it. And then I had to figure out the next business, which I kind of started up right away. It just fell into my lap. And I was just like in this entrepreneurship vortex, but I wasn't putting it out there. I was just like reading online, watching videos, kind of lurking, right? And then I had to make the decision at some point, do I want to start putting this out there? Do I want to start telling people about what I'm doing? And it was a struggle because, you know, I was starting something new again, starting over new again in a business. And then the thought of like putting that information out there, sharing it with people, it makes you really vulnerable, right? It kind of exposes you. And just starting that over again when you've done it before, it's hard because it's like, am I going to be successful again? Am I going to be able to pull this off? Am I confident enough in myself? And it took a while for me to step into those shoes. I think somewhere around 2023, I started to click a little bit more. And it's because I got in with a good group of people that were on kind of the same path with me, the folks at Driven Mastermind that I've met. I think they've had a lot to do with changing my perspective on a lot of this, and also my willingness to step up and be a leader and try to show it to people. Getting with that group of people has really changed things for me. But coming out of the pandemic, it was hard. I didn't want to open up about any of this. I didn't want to share with anybody. And I didn't want people to look at me as a leader. I was scared for people to look at me.
And Jay Lee on Facebook asked, are you allowed to share what company you sold during the pandemic?
It was a small one. You've never heard of it. It was a little tiny carpet cleaning company in Wisconsin.
Love it.
Just had to get one out from under my belt. I've owned a bunch of companies over the years. Some of them I should have sold. I had people who wanted to buy them and I never did. And then I had this carpet cleaning company, which turned out to be a lot more work than I expected. Anybody thinking about getting into a blue collar trades business, leaving their corporate job like I did to go start a blue collar business, it's not as easy as you think. Trust me. You're going to fall out of the tree and hit every branch on the way down. That's what happened to me. So I had a good time doing it and I learned a bunch. And when I had the opportunity to sell that business, I seized it. So I sold that carpet cleaning business. That was the one. And I'm actually really glad I did it. Christene, you and I were talking about writing books recently, and you told me something kind of similar. And like that, you thought if you could get a book finished, that it would kind of unlock your ability to write more books, right? To get that first one out would kind of unclog the pipeline and let you get more of yourself out there. And I felt the same way. I wanted to sell this business. I wanted to sell one, grow it, sell it. So I did. It was a carpet cleaning business. It's out of the way now. And now I feel like so much more free as an entrepreneur to just do whatever I want because I've been through the whole process now.
I love it. And Jay, thank you so much for that question. He just asked another one and we're just going for it. And then I'll come back to my original question, but I love this. Jay Lee, thank you for the second question. You sold a carpet cleaning business. Congrats, Reuben.
Thanks.
How do you plan for an exit? What are the factors in profiting from selling a carpet cleaning business?
Focus on making it turnkey. I think this is where a lot of people who've not been through the process before, they try to do everything themselves and they think that the business is still going to have value, even if they build it with their own hands, serve every customer with their own hands, and then they try to go sell it when it's still built that way. It's hard to do. You're going to struggle to find somebody to take it off your hands if you're the owner operator. From the day I started that company, my intention was to hire employees and try to make it more turnkey. I did exactly that. I set that company up so that I could run it remotely from 2,000 miles away. So my carpet cleaning business was in Wisconsin and I ran it from Seattle, Washington on the other side of the country. The fact that I set it up to be more turnkey where I could have employees show up, pick up the vans, clock in, go clean for folks, and then come home and clock out at the end of the day. That was what made it a more attractive business for someone to buy. So I would focus on that. Like you have to remove yourself from the day to day.
And that's for every single business if you want to exit. Every single business. And I would even say succession as well. You know, my family has a 100-year-old painting business. And we were looking at the business about 4 years ago before my brother and I joined as partners. And it was like, oh, Dad really can't have it succeed to us, because it's all tied to him. There's nothing to hand over. Same with selling and scaling. Everything was so tied to him, to his mind. Everything was in his head. All the spreadsheets were in his mind too. All the data. There was nothing physical to sell to help scale. There was nothing. So I love that, Reuben. That's so good. And
That's a good
now you're able
question.
model. Yeah. Thank you, Jay. Now you're able to take that model with your future businesses. So let's talk about that. There is a vulnerability about going public about what you're doing, because, and I know why it's vulnerable for me. Why is it specifically, and why was it specifically vulnerable for you when you first started?
Yeah. When you're telling people about your entrepreneurship journey, when you're putting it out there for people, entrepreneurship's already a high wire act. I mean, it really is. It feels sometimes like you're taking a huge risk, that your safety net it may not even be there. And then when you add the social media posting, making videos about it, speaking about it, then you add the audience, right? Now you're on a high wire in front of a whole auditorium full of people.
Yeah.
It just adds, for some people, I think it adds excitement and maybe focus, and helps hone them in on their goals. For me, sometimes it does that. Other times I become really aware of the audience. It's like I'm up there on the high wire, and suddenly I lose my balance for a second, and I catch a glimpse of someone, and I'm like, oh no, there's a million people watching me right now. What if I fall?
Make eye contact and you're like, oh shoot.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that still happens.
Wow.
Like I'm still human. We're all still human. Right? And sometimes you feel so human or scared in a moment, and it can be anything. For me, it can be somebody adds me on Facebook, and I go, oh no, why is this person adding me on Facebook? I'm embarrassed for them to see my post, because this is a successful entrepreneur, and I post about running a carpet cleaning business. They're going to think I'm silly on Facebook. Like just stuff like that. It'll just take you out of your element and make you, it'll zoom you out from what you're doing, and you'll suddenly see yourself from a distance and become more self-aware. And it's awkward sometimes. You got to learn to deal with it.
Interesting. This is so interesting. I want to go with this analogy for a second, because I want to play with it. I don't really know where this is going to go. So let's be creative for a minute. I was actually on the phone earlier today with one of my employees, and we were talking about one of our clients who he's going to be, we're helping him create his keynote. And I just mentioned, I was like, man, I'd love to help him with kind of connecting more so as he's sharing, and just, even like connecting with his eyes, where you can see the life in what he's saying, and like there's expression there. And so we're kind of going to help him do that this week when we talk. And as you're talking about the tightrope, you're like, all of a sudden you make eye contact. And I was reminded this morning, growing up, I did a lot of theater, and the lights are in such a way. And this is when you're on stage too, where it's actually hard to see the audience. True. And there's two different approaches. One is to make eye contact so that people feel seen and you connect with the audience. But then there's another thing where it actually can be distracting. It can actually take you out of the moment, where all of a sudden you become self-conscious, rather than like being able to keep your eye on the ball of, why am I saying this? And remembering the passion. And, even when I'm going live every single day, if I start paying attention to the little number of viewers, how many people are watching right now, and even in the chat, I literally have something covering that, because it immediately takes me out of the present moment. And I immediately start thinking, oh, what are they thinking? And how am I being perceived? So Reuben, talk to us a little bit about this, because I'm wondering if it's per occasion and per kind of environment, where yes, make eye contact, look at who you're talking to, and for the love of God, don't look, stay in the moment. So preserve your message and your story, because it could be disrupted and distorted the more other people kind of have a say in your presentation.
I think honestly, there's no way around it. I think you have to learn how to deal with both situations. I think you have to learn how to, kind of talk to the lights, and just not see everybody there in front of you, and just know that the audience is there, that they're receiving your message, and just kind of like know that in your heart and deliver it anyways. And actually for me, sometimes that's harder to do. If I can't see the people I'm talking to, sometimes it's harder for me to feel connected, like you're saying, right? Yes. But then there's the other side of that coin, where you see people in the audience. Maybe the lights are low, or not as as bright at this event. There's only 150 people in the room and the lights are on and you can see everybody. And as you're talking, you look out in the audience and you notice that one person in the front row is nodding off.
Yes.
In the middle of the, right?
I was just thinking about that.
And this happens. It happened to me at an event a year ago. Yeah. And I knew that what I was delivering was great, but I knew that I must not have been delivering it in just the right way, because this person that was nodding off just a little bit was actually the perfect avatar for who should have been listening to this presentation. And so when I saw that, for a second, it shook me, because I was like, oh no, my confidence was lost. I was like, I'm not going to make it through this presentation. I've already lost this guy. Wow. But you have to learn how to deal with that. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to get back up on stage and keep doing it. Thankfully, I think it triggered something in me. I have sort of a competitive side that I don't talk about a lot. I don't want to do poorly. I don't want to lose. I don't want to come in last. I'm not going to come out and say, I'm going to win. I'm going to be first place, first or last, right? That's not me, but I'm not going to lose. So if I see somebody nodding off, if I see somebody who's kind of losing the vein of what I'm saying, then I'm really quick to like adjust what I'm doing, to switch up the energy, to change the metaphor, to do something else to try to like jostle that person back awake and get them to receive the message. So sometimes that feedback's really good. You want to see people because it might improve your performance, but you got to work on that too. You can't just like see people become self-aware and then give up, clam up and go away. That's what you have to, I feel like you have to work on that. Otherwise you'll give up every damn day, right? Like something will cause you to want to give up every day.
I want to just make a quick comment. There's Jay said something else, which I love. He said, stay in the moment, be fully present. He said, perfect avatar nodding off during your presentation. Learn how to deal with that. Love your competitive side, Reuben. I'm not going to lose. So I think you just have a fan here about not losing. That is something that I actually think that we can, there's a couple of emotions that we actually kind of we were kind of trained to frown upon. One of those is anger. Another one is the competitive nature. It's like, oh, that immediately separates you. But if you're on the field, if you're in the game, if you're in the arena and it's me beating me, it's like, oh, I'm starting to get out of my head. Oh, I'm causing them to snooze. Okay, I'm going to improve, versus, oh, look at them over there. That's taking your eye off the prize. But if I'm on my way looking towards the goal and I see someone's nodding off while I'm doing that, I'm like, oh, re-engage. Okay, let's be better. Let's stand up stronger and be more engaging. Okay, I'm still on my way. But if we're looking laterally to our colleagues and competitors, I think that's what can actually derail us. And all of a sudden we're a little bit off center and off course. But if we're paying attention to the people in our path who are our avatars and getting feedback from them as we're moving in a vertical direction, pointing north, that is so powerful and really keeps us going. Emerson says, this sounds like it's going really deep behind the real work of success. So I love it. Reuben, this is exactly what you're doing because you're so successful right now. And it's like, what are the steps to get there? So looking back, you sold your business, you had a successful exit. And then it was like, let's do this again, but I'm now going to do it publicly. So making that decision, you mentioned something that really caught my attention. And it was just this concept of the cost of growth. There are costs. There's risks to being public about it. And then there's also an actual cost on an emotional level, a financial level. How much am I going to reinvest in business when it's not looking good? Relational cost. Spiritual cost. There's a cost across the board to every part of who we are. So I want to talk about that a little bit over the last 3 years. Let's say 2023 is when you really started to go public. Let's talk about that too. What has been the cost for you, let's say on a relational level, both friends, family, and then you mentioned this community driven mastermind, which I'm so grateful to be a part of as well. And it's amazing. So kind of like your old friends who are still in your life, your family, and then this new community. Like, how has you kind of putting yourself in the limelight and you honestly being so successful, how has that changed those three groups?
It's changed a lot of things, but I think it's changed where I spend my time the most. And there's side effects and consequences to that. So like you start kind of going down the success path and you start to hear from people that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You should be spending time with people who are like you, who are on your path. And so I've done a lot of that. And honestly, I will report back 2-3 years into this. It works. Go spend time with people who are doing what you want to do at a level you want to do it at, a higher level. Go spend time with them, spend all your time with them, get close to those people. And you'll start to be, if you're competitive like me, that nature will kick in. You don't want to be the slow kid. You don't want to be the one who's last in the race, right? Like you want to keep up.
Yes.
So that kicks in. It kicked in for me when I kind of upgraded my everyday friend group. My life went kind of into hyperdrive, right? Like my business started to move a lot faster. I started to hire a lot more. 3 years ago, I had one part-time employee. She worked for me 3 hours a week, and we ran a little agency together. Now I have 10 employees. I have 10
Wow.
employees because my friends have employees, right? Like I
Yeah.
feel the need to keep up with their businesses, to do the things they're doing. And I can't do it unless I'm making the same moves as them. So like
Right.
upgrading that friend group has certainly helped. You have to make time to do that. And that's where the sacrifice for me has really been obvious. I'm painfully aware that I spend less time with my friends from back home, painfully aware that I spend less time with people that I knew from my past, with my family, a lot less time than I'd like to. I don't even live in the same place as them. I live in Seattle, which I don't talk about this much. Seattle, I don't have any family here. I don't have really any friends here. I don't hang out with people. And I've lived here off and on for 6 years. The reason I kind of like that, and it's sick, is because it's like distraction free. I live in a very small town. I get up, I work from home. My whole life is right here. I spend all my time working. I can work from morning until evening. And then the only thing I have to step away to do is take my son to the bus stop in the morning, go to his baseball practices, his baseball games, go to school stuff for him, hang out with my family. Like that's about it. We're very, very tight. My wife, my son, and I, we spend all of our time together. And then all the rest of my time is spent on work and meetings and Zoom calls with people that are like-minded. That leaves very little time for like seeing my mom, seeing my in-laws, seeing their kids, seeing my friends who are starting to get married and have kids of their own. I get to see them very, very rarely. So like I feel like that is the sacrifice that I'm feeling more and more right now, is just that it starts to feel like you've made decisions, like you've decided to spend all of your time and focus doing this. And as a result, you've sacrificed all this other stuff. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Those relationships are still there and I still see them. And I'm so happy every time I do. I just got to actually hang out with my good friend, Roy. This was so cool, Christine. You're going to love this. So there was like a merging of the worlds recently. My really good friend, Roy, he's like one of my best friends. My first corporate job at AutoZone Corporate years ago, we worked there together. We've been friends ever since. He lives in San Diego now. He's a corporate guy, right? He's been working in corporate for, I don't know, 20 years now, 15 years now. And I had the pleasure of bringing him to Growth Hacking Live last week. He's in a job. Yeah. He's in a job search right now. And while he's looking, I thought I better invite him as a guest to this world and see what he thinks of the marketing world.
Cool. Yeah.
And it was so incredible to see him experience it for the first time, to meet people that I know. And then also it was kind of fun and somewhat like, I don't know, it was like affirming, I guess. But like for him to see me in my element was also fun because I know everybody there. People know me. I was one of the speakers, which was awesome. It was really fun. And so like for my friend to see me in my environment, was kind of fun too. Like it was like he got to see me, the real me, for the first time. You know, he'd never seen that before.
Yes. Reuben, what you just said, I think that this is a lesson for every single entrepreneur. Y'all, as we're on our growth path, as we're elevating and moving up, take people with us. You know, like I started hosting these knowing dinners because frankly, it was like, okay, let me actually be the one to just curate the room, curate the conversation. In one sense, it was very selfish because it's everyone who I want to be there, every topic and focal point that I want to have. I want to play games and get deep. Like those are the two things that I want to do. And you came to one of those and it was so fun. And then also is equally powerful. Like people were so vulnerable and it was so, and ever since we've all been so connected. So we get to be the ones to bring people with us and also create the rooms and the life that we want. You know, I think that that's a big, what you did, Reuben. I mean, that's taking our power, you know, and being like, okay, this is how I want to live. I can either allow myself to go into their rooms and become obsequious, or I can invite them into my room. And
it's the first time I've done it.
I
It felt
love
so good.
That's so cool. I do love it. That's so awesome. Y'all do it. Like I think if we were going to take one action from this conversation, go create rooms that merge the worlds, and maybe doing it in a way that's tactful, where, you know, it's intentional. Like I actually like the seating charts that forces people to not be exclusive, because that's clickiness is our nature. In fact, when I held my little birthday celebration, I saw that happen. You know, I had about 10 different groups of people there, and everyone just migrated to themselves. And then we were able to play a game that was so fun that everyone was forced to get to know each other on a really meaningful level. And so, y'all, especially with ChatGPT, anyways, I love that, Reuben. That is so inspiring. And I hope more of us do that, because frankly, I think we can really leave behind our roots in a way that's so devastating, you know, and we don't have to have that sacrifice. You know, we really can. I really believe this. I really believe we can have it all. If we live with intention, if we're clear about what we want and who we want to be, and then who we want to surround ourselves with, we can really curate our lives in a really beautiful way. So, okay, creating those groups of people that you're around, talking about the sacrifice and just the reality of that. It's painful, and it's, am I going to regret this? How are you, what questions are you asking yourself to ensure that you're not going to end up finding yourself regretting them?
Oh, I don't know if I'm asking myself the right questions. And this is kind of where I'm at in my learning phase right now.
Yeah.
I'm aware that I'm making sacrifices. I don't know if I'm making all of the right, like adjustments based on that. I feel like sometimes like I'm leaning into, what's working financially more than anything else, just because it's like, once that becomes easy, it's hard to step away from the slot machine, right? If you keep putting $1 in and it's spitting $4 out, you're going to sit there all day.
Yes.
And so that's kind of like where I'm at right now, and trying to like figure out, how do I disconnect from this every once in a while, or how do I get someone else to sit in that seat and they can feed the dollars in so that I can go and remember what my life is all about again, walk back out on the street and see the sunlight. I'm not a gambler, by the way, just a weird metaphor I picked.
Just so you know.
Yeah. But no, I think I've been taking a lot more time to exercise recently. I've been reading a ton. I read, I don't even know, 20 books a year. Not a ton. I read enough, but I'm trying to slowly introduce other books, not just business, but things that I think would help me as a person. So like a couple of years ago, I read Mark Manson's book. I can't remember the title right now. It's super, super popular. And it was excellent. Like that one was one of my first books I read that wasn't necessarily about business. It was about life, right? Trying to live a good life. It has a bad word in the name, Christine.
Oh, the subtle art of not giving a
F.
F.
Yep. I won't make you read it out loud, but that's the one. I try to read a handful of books like that now, just to give myself some different perspectives.
Nice.
Just some different fodder for my brain to feed on for a while. And then I like to work out. I like to go ride my bike and like get away and spend some time in like nature. That's really helpful. That gets me thinking a lot of times about like the relationships in my life and whether it's where I want it to be or not. And that's kind of my time to figure out, am I still on the path that I want to be on, or have I gone completely down this other path and I need to like adjust somehow? So I think just taking a little more personal time, that's my approach right now. I haven't figured it out, and I'm still just recently, like I just missed an important wedding that I wanted to be at. And that's bothering me a lot. That decision, like that's the one that stands out to me right now, that makes me go, I have more work to do. Like maybe I made the wrong decision here, and it's gonna force me to think about my priorities right now.
Thank you so much for being so honest and so vulnerable in that, Reuben, because so many people talk from the other side, not while they're on their growth path, while they're asking these questions. And so I really respect that and appreciate the vulnerability there, because I know I can learn from that. Even just you saying going for a bike ride, you know, how often are we actually disengaging from the inputs? Even to your point, you're thinking while you're doing it, you're not listening to a podcast or listening to music. You know, you're
I listen to
actually
music.
think.
I will
Okay.
listen
Yeah.
to music, but I will not. A lot of people listen to podcasts and audiobooks, and I love that. I really feel like you need space for your brain to not think about that stuff. So whether it's
Mm,
silence or if music will do it for you, music works for me in a lot of cases. It kind of shuts my brain off. Really, what shuts my brain off is getting on my bike and doing something dangerous that I could get hurt. Going down a downhill trail, going to the skate park, jumping off
right.
some jumps, like that's what really kind of like shuts my brain off and kind of like puts me back into myself. So I try to do that as often as possible, and then I try to just like have space every day where I can think just about how do I feel. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to spend more time doing. And
Mhm.
actually, that goes with what I was saying earlier about making your business more turnkey. You're never going to get that time if you
Yeah.
don't hire people, delegate. You'll never have the time to take care of yourself. You'll just constantly be pouring from your cup and your cup will never get refilled.
Such a good point. I saw Lisa Nicholson give this analogy at an event for Amazon that my team and I were working on. There, she had this basin and she had a glass and then a pitcher, and she poured water into the glass and held it up, and she was like, "So many of us give from a half full glass, a glass half full," and then she filled it all the way to the top. She's like, "Others will give from a full glass," and then she poured and poured and poured, and the water spilled over into the basin. And she held up the glass and she said, "Do you see this full glass? This is for you. The overflow is for everyone else." And that's honestly changed a very large part of the way I engage with people on a permanent basis. I heard that in 2022, and it's completely changed because, to kind of what you were saying at the very beginning of this conversation, moving from this place of being so curious and caring that can ultimately lead to codependency on how everyone else is doing. If we're giving from our half full glass, there's nothing left over for us. And that's going to be reflective in the way we lead our businesses and in the health of the businesses. But to allow for it to become that turnkey, then you actually have overflow to give from everybody else. And creativity lies within our glass. Our ability to think of the solutions and the solves to what is going on, it's within the glass. But if we're giving this to everyone else, we have nothing left over to actually be able to grow and scale. And so you saying you've doubled your revenue in just a couple of months, no shock, because you're actually taking that time. So kudos to you, Reuben.
Thank you. And actually really think about what Christine just said. Think about the moments where you have breakthroughs during the day.
Mm,
It's probably not while you're sitting at your keyboard. It's probably
so good.
not while you're banging out an email, responding to
Yeah.
somebody or on a meeting with someone. I have all of my insights, all of my problems that I've been trying to solve. They get solved. Suddenly my brain will figure it out. It'll just click when I'm in the shower, when I'm working
Yeah.
out, when I'm doing something else entirely. It disengaged from the work, then my brain is somehow still working on those problems and it figures it out. But if I don't take that space, if I don't give myself
Mm,
that distance from it, it doesn't happen. And what you said about giving from a half full cup, you could give
mm,
from a less full cup than that. And I have, and it doesn't feel good. When you're
mm,
trying to provide for other people, when you're trying to give people advice or help or support or guidance, coaching them, whatever, you're playing that expert role for them. If you have an empty cup yourself and you're trying to give to people, sometimes it comes off, you're a little raw, you're a little ragged. The advice you're giving, maybe is not quite, it's not
yeah.
landing the way it should. You're not saying it the way you should. You're not,
Yeah.
considering the person receiving the advice. I've felt in some conversations recently, like I've
Mm,
felt the need, like I need to go ride my bike because clearly I'm not
yes.
in the place to be giving right now. Like my cup is not full enough for me to give uh, sufficiently. So I'm with you. I think you really have to take time to recharge yourself, or it will
Yes.
impact the impact you have on people.
It's like recharging with intention so that when it's game time, we don't have to call out of the game and say, "I need to go recharge." Because
Yeah.
game time is the fight with our wife or son
Mhm.
or whoever it is. That's a game time moment. It's when all of a sudden we have this opportunity to meet a new client and we're actually not able to show up the way that we want to because
Yes.
our glass, every single one of those. So I love that. Reuben, the last question I have, one thing that hasn't really been mentioned, and I think that this is so important because you do this so well. You bring your family with you. You were talking about how you just invited your friend to Growth Hacking Live, and you're really kind of bridging the gap between your present and future and the
Mhm.
past. And that's so, I love that. but you also are doing business with your wife. Kelly recently started running the business with you. You brought Sam all the way across the country to a knowing dinner and kind of a mini knowing retreat. Like, he is immersed in your life, and Kelly is running the business with you. And in working out, both of you are on your own very similar health trajectory. So talk about that, Reuben, because you've done that so well. So many people, and I was on the phone with another client the other day, and he was talking about how he's on a fitness track, and his wife is actually like, is there someone else? Because all the time he starts getting healthy, and it's like, that's a very real concern. But you're doing life with your nucleus, and you're all rising together. So talk to us about that. Like, how have you did, that wasn't modeled for you, Reuben. And that's what I think is so impressive, is that you're literally rewriting the program that was handed to you. And I want to know how you've done that.
Well, thank you, first of all, for noticing. I do bring my family with me everywhere. And sometimes I feel like it's, my safety blanket or something, but that's not it. There's reasons for it. I bring my wife with me because she has actually been kind of my business partner since we met. The first time we met, one of our first dates, I should say, she really challenged me on why I was working a job and not running a business or doing the things that I dreamed of doing. At the time, it was investing in real estate. And she pushed me basically to just do it. What are you waiting for? You're old enough. You have the money. You have the knowledge. If you fail, you'll be okay. Why are you not doing it? So she pushed me to do real estate. And then she didn't just have me go do it. She jumped in and did it with me. Like, we renovated houses with our bare hands. We renovated a house full of black mold. Like, we did all this crazy stuff together.
I did not know this. Oh my God.
We bought 3 houses in 90 days in the first 4 or 5 months we waited. So it started out like this. We've been weird since the beginning. But so she's my business partner. She's my life partner. She's helped me run the carpet cleaning franchise. Now she runs my agency. I don't think I could do it without her. She's always been part of what I'm doing. Even if she's been working a job, she's so involved with what I'm doing, even just from being a consultant on it. Right. And then my son, he's growing up. He's 10. When he was younger, I didn't try to introduce him to things because I just didn't feel like I didn't want to force it on him. As he's gotten just a little bit older, he's become more and more interested by, like, Dad, why do you have a YouTube channel? Like, why do I keep seeing your ads on YouTube? Mom and Dad, why are you home all the time? Why do all the other parents go to work, but you're home? So he's become more curious, and I started bringing him to conferences to show him, like, this is what I'm doing. I don't have a normal job. I have this job. I start companies and I hang out with my friends that do the same thing. So I bring both of them now to conferences. I bring them to Driven Mastermind. Sometimes you'll see them hanging around the hallways in between sessions. I'll be with them and they'll be talking to people. And please come up and talk to us. My son will introduce himself. He's super confident. He'll talk to anybody. I got to get him a sales job, knocking on doors or something.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah, like, I love bringing them with me. It makes me feel like I have everything I need right there with me all the time. And the whole reason I'm doing this, I'm not doing any of this for money. I think a lot of people, it's easy to assume that everyone who's an entrepreneur, they're doing it for money. There's other reasons, right? I was comfortable growing up. I didn't come from a poor background like some people who go on to become successful entrepreneurs. I came up in a comfortable background. So for me, my motivation it's not so much money. It's actually more spending time with my family, because for me to have that comfortable life growing up, my parents both worked full time. They both worked federal government jobs. They were away from home all day, every day. I went to school in the morning by myself. I came home from school in the afternoon by myself. And that was the sacrifice they made for us to live comfortably. And I noticed that as a kid, that I didn't have my parents around all the time, and that my family wasn't real close. And so now that I have my own family and my own kid, it's really important to me that we be close. No matter what I'm doing for work, I don't want it to take away from my family. The reason I'm an entrepreneur and not working a desk job somewhere is so that I can be with them. In fact, when Kelly got pregnant with Sam, I think 2 weeks later, I gave my notice at work. I was working a really great job as director of e-commerce for a startup. DC.
Oh my gosh.
A really nice startup too. Like this company's gone on to make a bunch of money. They had Ted Leonsis from AOL was like an investor. It was a great company. But Kelly got pregnant, and I knew in my heart that I couldn't do this job. I couldn't do this career, that I couldn't end up being VP of marketing or CMO somewhere and working myself to death and never seeing them. So I took a huge risk, and I just decided on the spur of the moment to like buy a franchise. And I quit my job because she was pregnant and I wanted to have control over my schedule, my time. I wanted to be able to be with my family. And it was more important for me to do that than to make good money at work. So I just quit, took a big risk, and became an entrepreneur specifically so that I could set my own schedule. That was my reason for doing it. So now, now that it's going well and I have the resources to bring them with me everywhere, I absolutely do. If I can bring them with, I do.
I love it. I love that. And really it allows for, as we're talking about success, you're getting recognized at the airports, you're getting so many clients, you're getting so many speaking engagements, and you have a healthy family. Let's not forget that is a benchmark of success, is the health of our family and your physical health. You're more in shape than ever. So y'all, as we're kind of wrapping up here, I think it's so important that we actually take into account what are the KPIs of my life. What actually are the KPIs for my financial health, my physical health, my relational health, my business health, personal health, all of that. And Reuben, you've been doing work on yourself too, on an emotional level too, because there's emotional health as well. So I want to ask one more question about this. I can think as people are hearing you talk, it's like, man, wouldn't that be great if my partner was that helpful to me in my business? That just sounds amazing. What is one thing that you would really advise them, because I'm assuming that it hasn't always been easy. What are real changes you've made in the way you engage with Kelly that has enabled her to be able to be that partner? Obviously, she's an incredible person. I'm so grateful to know her well. And but what has helped you in the way you actually treat her and engage with her?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is recognizing that your partner, your spouse, is still their own person. They're separate from you. They're separate from this. And they also are like they're a person family too. Like they have their own illness. So where we've struggled a lot working together over the years is when that line really starts to feel like the business is the family, is the ship, is everything. And so you can get lost in there really easily. You can start to fight. You can start to pick each other apart. You can start to push each other too. And so I've had to really, and maybe too, but I personally, I've had to figure out how to stop. And she didn't start this business. She didn't ask for any of this necessarily. She just took responsibility, like accountability for this, and is helping me with it. But she doesn't have to. She has a choice. I have a choice. She could step out anytime she wants. And I always try to like remind myself of that. Not like, oh, she could leave and I could be destitute and my business would be ruined. But no, like it's a real consideration. She doesn't have to do this forever. And every time we work together, I think of it that way. Like this is a turnkey business that other people will run for us. I have Kelly's involvement right now and I'm super grateful for it. And everything that she contributes, I'm so grateful for it. But we have to build the business with the assumption she won't always be here. We have to plan to replace her and to keep her moving. Otherwise, like she's going to be stuck in this role forever. And that's not healthy for us. It's not healthy for the business even. So we try to keep it moving. She'll come in and help me with the business for a period of time. And then we'll come up with a plan to get her out of it. And I actually think that is really helpful. We're not doing it full time together all the time. She kind of acts as my consultant, comes in when I need her. And then we have an exit plan for her to go so that she's not stuck in it. Because Kelly, I think, is an entrepreneur. She'll tell you she's not an entrepreneur, but I believe she is. But I don't want her to feel like she's stuck with the business that I started. She didn't start it. It's not her fault. You know? And I'm just grateful that she's willing to help for a while. And then I usually have to find a way to try to like build for her to leave the business, hire somebody else, train somebody else. So
So
I
good.
would give that advice. Like, don't don't make it your everything. Don't make it all or nothing. Don't make ultimatums. Like, give yourself exits, because your relationship and your family is more important than the business. You could start another business. You don't want to have to go start another family.
Mm. Hot dog. That's such good advice. Reuben, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so incredibly grateful. Maybe we'll do a second conversation, because there was another question that popped up in the chat. So maybe we'll find another time. But for now, thank you, my friend. I'm so grateful to know you and Kelly and Sam. Or are you guys going to be at Almost Driven in November?
I will be there. Unfortunately, they can't make it. We're coming hot off the cruise. So,
Okay. Well, for those
they're
of
coming on a
you,
cruise.
I know. I wish I was going to be there.
Oh, no,
I'll be on
we'll miss
another
you.
cruise.
We'll think of you. We'll all be at sea.
I guess we'll probably be on the same seat, right?
Yeah.
Y'all, if you're going to be in Austin in November, and you're thinking about joining Driven Mastermind, let us know, and we can get you a link to RSVP and be a guest. I think that's how it works, but just let me know after the show if you're interested. This is the group that Reuben joined in 2023 that just completely elevated him, and for me, same. It's been incredible, and we really truly are the sum of the people that we spend our most time around. And then it's the question of, okay, is that permeating me enough to then be able to live accordingly to that new standard of the KPIs that I'm shooting for? So Reuben, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Great seeing you.
All right,
Thank you so much.